Hey guys, before you listen to this podcast, I just wanted to do a brief warning. While this episode is dedicated to Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, we will be referencing the entire saga, so spoiler warning, we will be chatting about some spoilers within the saga. Hey guys, welcome back to another Chit Chat with Cass. As usual, you are listening to this in one of three places, either on my YouTube channel, SoundCloud, or iTunes. So thank you all for listening. In today's episode, we are back with a Star Wars topic, and my dad is back again as a special guest. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for listening to our Last Jedi podcast, and thank you to those of you that suggested we do the rest of the saga. So in this episode, we're going to start with the first movie, the one that started it all. We'll be talking all about New Hope.
Or as I called it back in the day, Star Wars.
There's a lot of people that don't call it New Hope. So, did you see New Hope in theaters in 1977?
Yes, I did. My first introduction to Star Wars was I was in the 6th grade, and they had a magazine that came out called The Weekly Reader. And there was an article about this new movie that was coming out, and it had some photos, and I was just taken aback by it. So I started getting into it. I actually didn't see the movie until December. Friends of the family gave my sister and I a Christmas present of taking us to see it, because it was only playing in one theater, and it was clear on the other side of town. So her and her husband took us to see it for the first time in December. By that time, I'd already read the novel, and I was totally into it.
It was pretty hyped up by then.
It was hugely hyped up. I was already buying toys before.
Right, because pretty early on, no one really knew. There wasn't much advertising for it. But in December, that'd been several months.
And
everyone
it was
knew.
Still really hot. And it played in the theaters for a year.
Crazy.
Yeah, you don't hear
That's also
that
crazy
anymore.
that they released the novel before the movie came out.
The novel came out when the movie came out, but I hadn't seen the movie. So I got the book, I read it, I still have that book.
Why do you read it before you see the movie?
Because I knew I wasn't going to be able to see the movie.
Oh, jeez.
So I read
Spoilers.
it, and so I pretty much knew everything that was going to happen.
Alright, so we're just gonna go from start to finish of this movie. You watched it the other day. I just watched part of it last night and then finished it today to refresh my memory. I was watching the Blu-ray edition of it. You were probably watching a special edition of it. It was on TV.
It was on TV because I just watched Rogue One.
We were probably watching the same version. I think they played the same versions.
And now I can't watch Rogue One without watching A New Hope.
Yeah, it's just too closely tied together. So, obviously, the movie starts with the Tantive 5 racing away. 4, 5. Tantive 4? Really?
Yeah, IV.
Oh, don't listen to me. This is why he's the special guest on the podcast, because I don't know anything. So, my first memory of watching New Hope is kind of the door blowing open in the hallway, and all the smoke, and the blaster fire, and the stormtroopers, and all of that jazz. And that's, my first memory of watching Star Wars, because it's a kind of an intense moment, if you will.
Yeah, just the way it opens up with the Tantive 4 racing across space, firing, and then you see this huge Star Destroyer coming in, and then you hear 3PO. They've shut down the main reactor. We'll be destroyed for sure. This is madness.
And then it goes into, Vader's entrance, too. I remember that, too. All the hallway stuff, on the ship, is the stuff that I remember first seeing. And, it's quite an introduction. Because it's just, right, bam, into it.
Bam, you're in a war.
Yeah, it's not, any slow start. It's immediately you're into it.
And those stormtroopers can hit stuff, because a lot of people die.
They do pop off some people.
Yeah, and in my opinion, the guys that were down and ready should have been able to pick them off as they came through the door, but they're trying to show how good the stormtroopers are for the first and only time in the series.
Yeah, seriously. And then we immediately start with 3PO and R2, and already the movie starts And R2 is like, I got shit to do. I gotta go find the princess. And 3PO has no idea what's going on. Like,
No clue.
already, he has no idea. R2's like, hey, we gotta go find her. And then, like, we find her and we're getting the plans, and 3PO still has no idea what's going on. R2's just, like, dead set in his mission, day one, as the movie starts.
R2 is a hero.
R2 is a huge hero. I also remember for the first time watching it, Leia's introduction with R2, but really like when she peeks around the corner and then she shoots the stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Because this is the first time, like, this is the princess. Like you said in the last podcast, you introduced Star Wars to me, it was like, you want to watch a movie about a princess. And I'm like watching Disney princesses that are like singing with birds and stuff. And this princess turns around the corner and shoots the stormtroopers and then makes a run for it. She doesn't get very far, but she makes a run for it.
She gets stunned real quick.
Yeah. And then, of course, R2 just continues on with his mission and goes into the escape pod, and then they're bounced and out.
Yep, pretty much, yeah. And then you get Vader choking out Captain Antilles.
Yeah. And this was, like, I remember, like, when I was a little kid watching it, too, because, like, obviously you know that Vader's the bad guy, you know?
Yeah.
You know immediately he's the bad guy. And he, like, is, like, walking through the hallway all badass, and he's, like, choking out this guy and everything. And then we cut to this little itty-bitty princess just being a total, like, smart-ass to him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, where are those plans you intercepted? What have you done with those plans, and choking the guy out. And then the next time, Leia's right there and just snapping at him.
It's awesome. A sass factory. That's a quote from Carrie Fisher, that Leia is a sass factory.
She's good.
And then, of course, we jumped to R2 and 3PO on Tatooine. And I was, like, watching it again. I can't even begin to imagine filming in those costumes in the desert.
No, not at all.
I would die.
Well, Anthony Daniels was like losing weight every day.
Yeah, I mean, it would be intense. And it's like, what are you supposed to do? Even if you, like, take a break or take the headpiece off or anything, it's still going to be so hot in there. It's insane.
I remember seeing filming pictures of Anthony Daniels leaning. It was like a bed, and it had armrests, and he would lean back against it, and they would kind of lay him back a little bit, and then they would shove a straw through the hole in the mask so he could drink water.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. I can't imagine. I just was thinking that when I was watching it.
That's why he got so pissed at Alan Tudyk.
Yeah, he
Rogue
did
One.
say that because he didn't have to wear the
So
damn
are you in a costume, or are they doing CG? Oh, they're doing CG. Oh, you shit.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. I would be pissed too if you go through all of that with all the crappy costume, intense heat, all that crap, and then, oh no, they're gonna do it digitally. Well, screw you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Alright, and then from there, R2 and 3PO separate because 3PO don't know what the fuck is going on.
He's just popping an attitude, and R2's
like,
set
I
on
got
his mission.
Stuff to do.
Yeah.
And so then he goes into the canyon, and that's like the introduction of the Jawas.
Yeah.
Which I could never decide if I thought they were creepy when I was little, or I was just like, I think it was the lack of the face. Like the hood, they look like little cult members, and then the glowing eyes.
Well, when you first see it, they're blasting
Yeah,
the
they
hero.
yeah.
They shoot him with the magnetic gun, whatever it is, the electromagnetic pulse.
Yep.
And
he falls over.
Then they take him, put a restraining bolt on him, and put him in the sand crawler.
One of the next scenes is like the stormtroopers like already like searching Tatooine, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm watching the Blu-ray edition. There are so many added stormtroopers into those shots.
A lot.
It almost looks like a parody because it's too much.
It is.
Like the couple is okay, like maybe the one on the back on the creature
The dewback.
or whatever, but there are so many. It looks like they just layered like a shit ton of stormtroopers into that shot. It was odd.
That was actually one of the pictures from the Weekly Reader magazine, was the stormtrooper sitting on the dewback. And when you actually see it in the original cut, it's not nearly as there. It's just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you've got dewbacks walking, you got dewbacks in the background.
Yeah, there was just so many.
Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that was added in there that as they comb the desert.
Yeah.
Which makes me think of Spaceballs and a giant comb in the desert.
I haven't seen Spaceballs. And then, of course, we jump to the introduction to, like, the Lars farm. Is that what you would call it? Homestead? Something like that.
Lars Homestead.
Uncle Owen and Luke's introduction. Whiny Luke.
Whiny Luke.
Because Luke is got the whiny Skywalker gene there.
Yes. Definitely not the Last Jedi, Luke.
No, he is very whiny. You have to, just because, like, you've seen the entire series now, I can't not think of the prequels. So it's like when, like, Uncle Owen is talking to 3PO, it's like, yeah, dude, I used to work for you. I used to live here. My memory got wiped, but I used to live here.
Yeah, I think about that, you know, because the prequels came afterwards. If somebody showed up with a 1950 Ford pickup, I would think, wow, my first vehicle was a 1950 Ford pickup. Even though that was, you know, a bazillion years ago, I might think about it. But if 3PO shows up, how many protocol droids have you had that have that prissy little voice?
Yeah. It's just weird. I just can't. I couldn't separate it. I know some people do, but I just couldn't separate it. And then I did notice, I don't know if I've noticed it before, like when Luke is cleaning them up and 3PO is talking about being part of the rebellion and Luke is all interested, R2 is totally like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
He's like beeping off like, dude, don't spread that around. What are you doing?
Exactly.
You're gonna screw up my mission here, bro.
What with the rebellion and all? You know, the rebellion against the Empire?
I love the fact that R2 like scams Luke out of taking the little thingy off of him. So
the
that
restraining bolt.
So he can escape later. Oh yeah, you're small, you're whatever.
Well, that's all because he can't play back the whole hologram.
That's bullshit. That's like...
It is bullshit.
He's like, R2 is like the smartest person in the room.
Oh, he's in that room, definitely.
He like completely has the plan, like, oh, we'll just play a little bit of this here, tease him, and then, oh, sorry, I don't know what happened to it.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. Who is she? She's beautiful. He doesn't get out much.
Yeah, poor guy. And even the other day when I had New Hope on and Mom was watching, she was laughing at the fact. She's like, he just totally scammed him. He's gonna leave in a bit. And he just, oh, it's a little droid. Well, he won't go anywhere.
He can't go far.
He won't go far. It's like, he's gone.
But you also, you get the, I wonder if he means old Ben Kenobi.
Mm-hmm. So clearly, and I wonder if we don't know when the Obi-Wan Kenobi story is going to take place. I hope it takes place between Sith and New Hope.
Yes.
That's when I want it to take place. And I would love some interaction with a young Luke, because clearly he knows him.
Yeah.
Even if he's just the crazy old guy down the street, he knows who Ben Kenobi is.
It's almost like he's the crazy old guy down the street that always had a piece of candy.
Yeah.
For Luke.
Yeah.
And would listen to him.
And Uncle Owen always told him to stay away from that crazy guy.
Exactly.
Like, that's totally what it is, and I would love to see that in an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie.
Well, you know, there's some great interaction with Owen and Beru.
I made note of that.
You know, where he's not a farmer, Owen. He's got too much of his father in him. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, that immediately tells you shit's going on. Or, like, immediately when he mentions, wonder if he means old Ben, the look between Beru and Owen is like, fuck. Yeah. Uh-oh. You immediately know that there's storyline there. Even if George Lucas didn't know what the hell he was going to do down the line, there is some backstory there that they totally are trying to hide from. George Lucas got so lucky. He got so lucky with some of this stuff. Because
that fit perfect.
There's a bunch of things that he didn't have planned that work.
After the prequels, you see that look, and Owen's thinking, oh, that's right, your dad hacked up the Sand People a couple movies ago.
Yeah, see? It's like all of it. Poor people.
But he was going to go to Tosche Station to pick up some power converters.
God, he's so whiny in this movie.
But there's a great cartoon for that. It shows Luke at Tosche Station at a strip bar. And it says, tonight on the main stage, the power converters.
And then, of course, it means a lot different now, but going to the iconic Twin Suns with the Force theme playing, that's like, that was probably the most, well-known scene in Star Wars. Like, even if people don't watch Star Wars, like, people will be like, yeah, the blonde kid watching the Suns. Yeah. They would know that. And then it just means something totally, completely different.
Yeah, it's come full circle with Last Jedi.
It's completely different now. Oh, and then like we said, R2 is like up and gone because he's a scam artist. And then it goes to the next morning of Luke and 3PO trying to find him. And I kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but I kind of realized that Luke really never got to say goodbye to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru.
No.
He left that morning and like...
I think he left before everybody woke up because...
It's like he left a note, I'm going somewhere. And it's like, oh shit, that's unfortunate.
Didn't know there was going to be a barbecue later.
Oh, that's sad. And then so we jump to the Sand People, which once again, if you think about the prequels... Like, they're like, your dad killed my friend. Yeah. And we're gonna beat you over the head, kid.
And we know because you Skywalkers have a smell of
You have a smell. I know we kind of killed your grandmother, but that's just too damn bad. And then, like, I feel like, kind of going back with, like, the Obi-Wan thing, does he just, like, hang around in case Luke gets into trouble?
I think he is so in tune to Luke. Because he, in Sith, he said, I will go to Tatooine and watch over the boy.
Yeah.
You know, he's in tune to what Luke's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And he must have felt Luke heading into the waste.
Yeah, hopefully, because if not, that's a really boring life, just following this kid around.
No, it is a boring life.
And, like, hoping he doesn't mess something up. It's funny because it's like, okay, we have to make sure that the little boy doesn't do anything wrong. Oh, the girl, she's fine. Just send her out. She can take care of herself. She's fine.
Leia's more like her mother. Luke's more like his father.
This is true enough. And then, of course, so we have, like, Alec Guinness's introduction.
Which is epic.
Which is great. I love his introduction.
I'd known him from Bridge on the River Kwai, which I believe he won an Oscar for.
Probably.
And so when Star Wars first came out, I thought, wow, this is well-known actor. Mm-hmm. And he brought such a presence to the role.
Yeah. It's so funny because it's almost like it mirrors, it's not quite to that degree, but like it's so well known that Alec Guinness got like over it. Like he didn't want to be Obi-Wan anymore.
He was
because
way over it.
He was such a well-known actor and then all he was known for is Obi-Wan. It's like the same thing with Harrison Ford. It's like it's mirrored it because now Harrison Ford is so much more famous than he was when he did Star Wars. And he doesn't want to be Han Solo.
But at least in Force Awakens he came back.
No, he did come back.
He was Han Solo.
He did come back. And even with any of like Alec Guinness not wanting to be, I don't think he does any bad acting.
No.
In any of it.
But boy, to get him back for Empire, George Lucas had to take him to his favorite restaurant and he had to do some major ass kissing to get him to come back.
One of my favorite, probably, acting moments for Alec Guinness is when Luke says Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the look on his face, like the memories that, like, through all the prequels you can see.
Oh, yeah. And,
like, everything that happened.
And now, with the prequels in place, no matter how much you don't like the prequels, you know, you have that history, and that look on his face, you can see, you know, thinking back, Darth Maul. Thinking back, General Grievous, you know, thinking back to fighting Count Dooku.
All of it.
All of that is going through his head at that time. And plus, you know, Obi-Wan and Anakin's fight has got to be major in his head because he and Anakin were so close.
Yeah, definitely. He's not going to just, like, up and forget that. And then it, like, of course goes to, like, R2. I don't remember owning a droid. And R2's like, what the fuck, bro? Nice to see you, too.
Yeah. I did listen to an audiobook. It is a retelling of A New Hope. And in it, jumping ahead a little bit, when they're on the Millennium Falcon, Obi-Wan walks over to R2, puts his hand on the dome, and says, "It's good to see you again, old friend."
See, I feel like that's a fix.
Yeah, I think it is too. It's a retcon.
There's, like, when they do books with some of this series, we talked about this in the Last Jedi podcast, sometimes they rely on the books too much to fill in things or to fix things. Like,
it's retroactive continuity is what it is. Yeah.
And I think I mentioned that in something coming up with this one, too, that sometimes just the books, like, fill in spaces when they forgot something. And then it's, like, the same thing with the memories and everything with Luke asking him, you fought in the Clone Wars? It's like with the prequels, you know exactly what they're talking about now. Or even with the Clone Wars animated series.
Yes.
You have some sort of reference to that. He's not just like an old man. You have the image of like young Ewan McGregor kicking people's ass.
That line where he talked about, you fought in the Clone Wars, you know, that was very intriguing back in 77.
Yeah.
You know, like, what is the Clone Wars? You know, it's like when I was little, I collected military patches and pins, and I was always talking to veterans, and they would give me patches and pins that they had earned and to put in my collection. And so listening to them talk about World War II or Korea or something like that was kind of like the Clone Wars. It's a war that happened before I was born, that I only know stories about, and you're actually talking to somebody that was there.
Right, yeah.
So
that makes sense, because with specific things that, like, in high school we had talk with people that had experienced wars and things like that. And so I've, like, been in classrooms with... Yeah, I've been in classrooms and stuff, like, with that. So that's understandable. And then Obi-Wan gives him the lightsaber. Like, can we warn the kid? Like, this will cut limbs off before you just give it to him. He's like, vroom, vroom. Like, he's, like, bringing it around. And it's like, oh my god, he's gonna, like, chop somebody's head off.
Or if you're Qui-Gon, it'll melt through a door.
Like, yeah, like, this is a weapon, child. Yes. Little farm boy. Be careful.
Your father wanted you to have this when you're old enough, but your uncle wouldn't allow it. Well, of course he wouldn't allow it. He's a little kid.
He's a little kid. When exactly did your father want you to have this? Was he on fire when he muttered that can you give this to the kid that I think died?
Yeah.
Like, are you sure?
Well, it's true from a certain point of view.
Oh my god. Yeah. A certain point of view. And that goes with the same, like, Darth Vader betrayed and murdered your father. Kinda?
No, see,
certain point of view?
From a certain point of view, because the good man that was Anakin was betrayed and done away with by what became Darth Vader. So, I understand that. But, you know, when he said, you know, Vader helped the Empire hunt down and destroy the Jedi Knights, I kind of wanted to see that.
Yeah, you only got it briefly in Revenge of the Sith.
You know, hacking up kids. That's not what I expected.
Yeah.
I wanted to see him going head to head against...
You got, like, that brief little moment in the hologram.
In the hologram, where he is fighting Jedi.
With, grown Jedi. And that was it. Revenge of the Sith has odd timing. But that's for a different episode.
Yeah, but we can't help but bring up every...
I know. Everything is so interconnected.
Floats in because it's a giant story.
And then, of course, like, goes into Leia's message, which that's another very iconic. Even if you have no idea what Star Wars is, you will know what that is.
Oh, yes.
I had that memorized a bit ago because I did a Leia video. It's gone now.
Billy Lord had it memorized.
That's because Billy Lord is amazing. That was so amazing for Carrie's honoring thingy-majig.
Yeah, I was always curious about, years ago, you served my father in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And when you actually see it, he didn't really serve for
the way that
Bail
I take
Organa.
It is he served the Senate.
He served the Senate, and
Bail was a senator.
Yes,
That's how it has to be taken. Because, yeah, he wasn't working for Bail. No. But
Bail was definitely working with them.
Yeah. Bail is an amazing character. I would take a spin-off Bail movie. Let's forget the Boba Fett movie. Let's do a Bail Organa Origins movie. Do it. I will do it. I'll watch that.
I love Jimmy Smits.
I do too.
I've always liked him as an actor, and when he came in as Bail Organa, I thought, oh, this is cool.
I do have to laugh. It's like you try to not think of the future of, like, the rest of the episodes and everything, but it's like when Luke's watching, like, Leia's message, it's like, it's your sister. Can we stop checking your sister out, please?
There was a book that came out right after Star Wars, and it was the first, extended universe movie, and it was called Splinter of the Mind's Eye, and they were basically looking for a kyber crystal. I actually still have the book. I read it, but there's like a hot and heavy Luke and Leia scene in that.
Ew.
But that book got to me because it was just Luke and Leia and Vader, and I'm going, where's Han? Where's Chewie?
Oh, that's because Han's your favorite.
No, that's because back in the day I thought Han was the hero of the story. I didn't realize it was Luke.
Right, yeah. And then I had to laugh when I was rewatching it because, like, Obi-Wan's like, come to Alderaan with me. And Luke's like, nah, I don't wanna. Like, I got farmer shit to do.
That's your uncle talking.
And it's just, like, comparison once again, like, No, I want to go play with my little spaceship toys at the farm while my sister's out running the rebellion.
Well, it's true. It's true. You know, he wants to get away. He wants to get away. He gets the chance to get away, and he goes, no. I gotta go back to Jakku.
Yeah, Jakku. What? Jakku? Why does everyone want to go back to Jakku?
Well, that's the difference between Force Awakens and this is. He keeps talking about wanting to get off Tatooine, and Rey keeps talking about wanting to get back to Jakku.
Yeah, it is kind of polar opposites.
Polar opposite.
And then we jump to back on the Death Star with Vader and Tarkin and the other dudes, and the very famous "I find your lack of faith disturbing."
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Yeah.
Vader, release him.
If you watch Tarkin's face throughout that whole thing, he's just like, oh, there he goes again. It's just so hard to control.
Well, that was always got me in there is because you think of, especially after you see Empire and Jedi, Vader is the boss.
Kind of.
He's under the Emperor, but he's like the number 2 guy. And in Star Wars, he's not. It's Tarkin.
Yeah.
Because Tarkin tells him, Vader, release him. And as you wish, and he doesn't.
Yeah, and
he's more of a thug.
And it's funny because, especially like going back to like Revenge of the Sith, like it's like Anakin thinking he's gonna like have so much power. He's just like everybody's like little bitch.
No, he is.
And for a lot of it, until like he like kind of Tarkin's gone and everything, but still it's like always back to the Empire. It's like, how do you not know in all these years that you were being used, my friend?
And I think that's why the Emperor liked Anakin, is because Anakin didn't have the ambition to try to take over. I mean, you have the expanded universe of The Force Unleashed, where Vader...
Is that canon still?
Well, it was canon, and I don't know,
anymore.
Now that Disney's taken it over, I don't know if it still is. It's a great story. I listened to the audiobook, I played the video game. It's really good, but that was like Vader's first attempt at trying to take over. And in the movies, you don't hear him try to take over until Empire rule the galaxy as father and son. Whereas all the other Sith are just waiting for their moment to kill their master.
Yeah.
And become the master and then take on an apprentice.
Yeah. It's interesting. I guess Vader's character development, I guess you could say, maybe? I don't know.
It could be, but the Emperor knew Vader just didn't have the ambition to try to do that. He was
too focused on other things.
Yeah, on Panda Bear.
Padme. Panda Bear.
Padme.
Oh, gosh. And then the Jawas get killed. We see that, and then it's the rushing back to...
Yeah. These blast points are far too precise for sand people. Really? I guess they must be the ones that busted through the door.
Yeah, they must be, because stormtroopers aren't very accurate. I always felt just so unbelievably sorry for Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. I mean, I guess you're not supposed to be happy about them dying, but I just remember being like, well, that sucks. They got caught up in somebody else's drama.
Yeah.
And died. Stupid Skywalker drama. But, it's like they knew what they were getting themselves into.
Well, they had to.
When you accept Darth Vader's baby.
Yeah.
But still, it's...
And Obi-Wan had to have told them.
You're not going to drop him off and not be like,
hey,
okay,
I need you to watch this kid. Oh, by the way, his dad's, dead, or his dad's hanging out someplace else, Hey, his dad had a bad turn,
You would have to do that. And then it's like, I was going to mention this, but they would have had to have known, because Uncle Owen is like stopping Luke from joining the Empire, correct?
Correct.
The Academy?
The Academy, he wants to be a TIE fighter. He wants to be a TIE fighter pilot.
Yeah. Which is like...
Because that's what Biggs was.
And I think that's like a totally different, like, motive for Uncle Owen. Because it's not just, oh, well, you need to stay and we're going to tell you it's because we need help on the farm. But really, we don't want you to go join the Empire, kid.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a totally different sidetrack for them. And it's weird. I didn't understand for a really long time that Luke wanted to join. The Academy was joining the Empire.
Yes. And
because it's like there's no...
the deleted
there's
scene
not an
from
academy
Star
for the
Wars,
rebellion.
The deleted scene from Star Wars has Biggs coming back to talk to him.
Yeah.
Where he went and trained and became a TIE fighter pilot, but then he defected to the rebellion.
Yeah.
So he got the training with the Empire.
I wonder how many people do that. All right, we're gonna go learn here, and then peace out, bro. We're gonna go against you now.
Exactly, and that's what he wanted to do, was become a TIE fighter pilot.
Which is funny. It just makes him even more like Luke's character development. He's so naive in this movie. He's like little farm boy because he is so interested in the rebellion, but you want to go to the academy and go blow up the rebellion, essentially? Like, kid, think about what you're saying.
He's not putting it together.
No, he's just like wants to go do something fun. He's just very naive.
Adventure, excitement.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he wants. I actually really like Owen and Beru, so it's kind of shitty that they died so fast.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's, and I like seeing them in Clones and briefly in Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
Poor people. Poor damn people.
Even though every time I see young Uncle Owen, I keep thinking it's Star-Lord.
They do look alike.
Yeah.
They do look similar.
And they were both in Zero Dark 30 together.
I haven't seen that movie.
And I was really confused.
Which one is which? They both look so similar.
But the death, that was horrific.
Yeah.
The smoking skeletons.
Yeah.
That was just plain old horrific.
Yeah. And it's really, I feel like Luke gets over it a little too fast.
He does.
It's like, and then he's like going off, we're gonna go into the rest of like going to Mos Eisley and everything, but like, it's like,
there's nothing for me here now. I'll go with you.
Your aunt and uncle just died.
Big jump there, kid. Nothing here for you.
Yep. We could jump back to the Death Star with like the brief scene of Leia's like interrogation.
The interrogation droid.
Yeah. And like torture, essentially. Depending on what you're reading, depends on what type of torture she went through with that. Depending on which canon. Oh my god. So many to keep up with. But so many people, and like Vader says it later on and I'll mention it, but like so many people think that her resistance was because she's Force sensitive.
That's very possible.
That's another thing that they got lucky on.
Yes.
Because
George Lucas got extremely lucky with this movie.
Lucky. Because that makes perfect sense that she would be able to resist something like that if she's Force sensitive.
You know, in the beginning, George Lucas had one story to tell. But it was too long, so he broke it up into 3 parts.
Mm-hmm.
And when he did Star Wars, he gave it a beginning, he gave it an end, in case it flopped.
Yeah.
You had a complete movie.
Mm-hmm.
And with everything, the way it goes from one thing to another in the 3 movies, he got extremely lucky in this movie with a lot of different things.
There's, I believe, I don't know if it's a book or a comic, because I haven't read all the Star Wars comics. I actually just saw an image from a Star Wars comic the other day that had, like, Luke and Vader fighting with lightsabers, and Luke is in his yellow jacket that he's in at the end of this movie. So I have no idea when that takes place.
That badass
like,
yellow leather jacket.
After the throne room. I have no idea when that takes place. But I haven't read all the comics, but some of the books or comics, I'm not quite sure, reference Vader's curiosity on why Leia was able to resist it.
Well, that makes sense.
Because, I mean, technically, if he's able to say at the end of the movie, the Force is strong with this dude, would he be able to know that Leia's using the Force to resist that?
He should have been able to sense it, because he could sense it in
yeah.
Luke.
So that's kind of like another one of the books filling in things. That Vader was very curious on why.
She's also very strong-willed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she really believes in what she's doing, and she would fight with every fiber of her existence.
Yeah.
If the situation was reversed, Luke would have gave up everything.
Yeah. Upbringing, maybe. I don't know. Very polar opposite children. And then I did notice when we jump back to Luke going back to Obi-Wan, it's like Obi-Wan already knows they're dead.
He does.
He already knows.
I mean, he knows them.
Well, I mean, and what has he been doing for the past 19 years? He's been meditating. He's probably very in-tuned.
He's in tune to everything around him, especially the people that he knows.
Yeah.
And he's really in tune to Luke, and he's got to be in tune to them because they're with Luke.
Yeah. And then, of course, they go to Mos Eisley. Have you ever seen that meme where people, like, take the quote about Mos Eisley and, like, apply it to their city?
Really, I think there should be a sign at the beginning, you'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy, and then somebody spray paints on the bottom, we must be cautious.
That's funny. I've actually seen a lot of people, like, do that as a meme for, like, DC.
Yeah.
Like, The capital.
So, which version do you like? Do you like the new version where you get to see more of Mos Eisley, or do you like the original version where you see a lot less?
I noticed I was like trying to like rewatch and absorb as much as I could so that I could be knowledgeable for this podcast. But I noticed when they're driving through, it looks like the city part is taken right out of Phantom Menace. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like they used almost the same graphics because you can see the parts that were there originally, but like the city part totally looks like where they went and saw little baby Anakin. But I feel like some of the re-edit things look so much like Phantom Menace.
Like Mos Espa?
Yeah. It just looks like... So I probably prefer the original.
Well, you know, a lot of the stuff that they did when they did the special editions was getting ready for the prequels.
Oh, yeah.
So that makes perfect sense. I just think they added just a little too much comedy in it. You know, the Jawa swinging from the neck of the dinosaur thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't really need that.
Some of the things walking by aren't needed either. Like, that you can totally tell like were added in.
Yeah.
Like, just not needed.
When they're pulling up in the land speeder, you see a stormtrooper walk across that was never there originally.
Weird.
And it looks funny.
Fake. It doesn't look... It's weird. It's because you're, like... All the original trilogy is so practical with everything, and then you try to add in some of the CG from the prequels, it makes it look funny.
Yes, it does.
That's what it is, because it's not the high quality CG that we have like in Force Awakens and Rogue One and Last Jedi.
Right. It's a
cartoony.
Yeah, it's a cartoony element to
you
it.
don't notice it. I mean, you notice it in the prequels, but not as much because it's all fake.
Yeah. When
you layer it on top of practical, it's like really stand out. But some of like the edits are okay, but some like the walking across stuff and at like the stormtroopers on Tatooine, like I said earlier, you can just tell there's like a bunch of layers of stormtroopers.
Yeah. And I got to see the original 77 on Blu-ray a couple years ago. My buddy had it, and he had a really killer TV sound system, probably the best home theater I've ever seen in my life. And he had a little party, and we sat and watched the original cut of the 77 Star Wars. And it's so different to see all the practical stuff, because every time I watch it now, it's either on Blu-ray or on Spike,
and all of those are the special editions,
and it's all special edition stuff, so you get all this extra, and it was kind of nice to see it in its original form.
I've heard that Disney was talking about re-releasing like original cuts of the original trilogy, because like getting rid of the stuff that George Lucas added. Well,
as long as they leave in the sun coming through the windows in Empire and Cloud City.
I know you like Cloud City. Oh. No, but some of the edits are okay, but it's like some of the unnecessary. It's like, all right, we have this scene, we need to add like 20 more things, when it only needed like slight adjustments.
Yeah. You know,
someone needed to pull him back.
Well, that's the problem, is there was nobody in Lucasfilm to say, hey, you want to pull it back a little bit?
Yeah.
No, they let him just do whatever he wanted to do.
And then in Mos Eisley, you get another really popular Star Wars line. These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Yes.
That's another very popular Star Wars line.
Those were the droids we were looking for.
That's such a funny cartoon where there's like this little cartoon where the stormtrooper realizes he's like wandering Tatooine years later. And he's like, oh my god, those were the droids we were looking for.
A guy at work the other day had a t-shirt on. Had two stormtroopers standing by a water cooler. And it said,
it dawned.
Those were the droids we were looking for.
It suddenly dawned on them. Oh, poor little stormtroopers.
I looked over and I'm looking at his shirt and it was stormtroopers, so I read it and I went, huh, that's pretty good.
And then into the cantina. I love that song.
I love that music.
I love that song. And immediately you see Obi-Wan and Chewie talking, which I really like.
Yes. Which is another thing that George Lucas didn't necessarily know, that Chewbacca had a relationship with the Jedi.
Yeah, and you see that in Sith, and I like that.
And you got to think Chewie recognized what he was.
Yeah. definitely he would have
Especially
recognized...
when he lit up the lightsaber and cut off the dude's arm.
Well, and it's like back and forth. Like, they both would... He would have understood that he was probably a Jedi, and he would have been like, oh, you're a Wookiee. I can trust you.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And I think it ties back to the... kind of the prequels, again, when, like, the bartender dude says that we don't serve their kind here.
Yeah.
Because they're droids, like...
And some people would have a prejudice to droids because of the Clone Wars.
Exactly, because of all that past drama that the newer generations wouldn't necessarily understand.
And, you know, back in 77 when they said the Clone Wars, nobody said anything about droids back then. Mm-hmm. Nobody knew anything about the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
I always thought that the Republic was attacked by clones.
Yeah, I mean, what are you supposed to say? I mean, it's just a name that... See, like, that's the parts where you have to wonder if George Lucas, in his mind, knew what the Clone Wars were. Mm-hmm. Or did we just name it the Clone Wars? Or did he have an idea of, this is what I envision the Clone Wars to be? You will never know. George Lucas needs to write a book. Write a book, bro.
Yeah, even some of the stuff where he says what he did back then, he whitewashes a lot of it. You know, he oh yeah, I knew what I was doing. No, he didn't.
And no, it's what's really funny is when, like, he will say, like, oh yeah, I knew this. Go interview Harrison, Carrie, and Mark, and they'll be like, no, he didn't. Exactly. No, he didn't.
No, anybody who's involved knows that he was winging it.
It's quite funny to hear their interviews versus his interviews.
Yes.
Oh, and you're in a bad bar when people chop arms off and people just go back to their hookah and their drinks like it's nothing.
Oh no, that's a horrible place.
Like the dude that just like turns back to his hookah like, oh, another arm chopped off. Yeah. It's just another day.
Clean up at the bar.
Like, there's probably a job title that like is clean up the blood and limbs from.
The blood always got me because if you cut off with a lightsaber, it would cauterize it immediately.
There's way more blood in the original trilogy that I've noticed over the last couple of years than I realized when I first watched them. Because, like, technically the same should be, like, it should be the same for blasters, too.
Yeah. The only exception to that would be the guy that rubs the fingers on Finn's helmet.
Oh, that's different because yeah, he was, like...
He got shot, but the armor would have fragmented and caused blood.
The one that I really noticed is, jumping to Return of the Jedi, is when Leia gets shot on Endor... Not her arm is bleeding, and Han has blood on his fingers from grabbing her arm.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense to my brain, but whatever works.
Yeah, I think they just did that because most people would think, oh, you get shot, you're going to bleed.
Yeah, sort of.
You don't think about the cauterizing.
Yeah.
Was that before or after he grabbed her boob?
That's after he grabs her boob and then quickly corrects himself. And then, of course, we have Han Solo's introduction. Your favorite character?
Han Solo, Captain of the Millennium Falcon.
You know what was...
says you're looking for passage to the Alderaan system.
You know what was so funny to me when I was watching it last night is how unimpressed Obi-Wan is by the Millennium Falcon. Should I? Like, he's just like...
Yeah. You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon? Should I have? It's the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs.
I think we're going to get the Kessel Run in the Han Solo movie.
Probably.
I think we're going to.
And we're going to find out what a parsec actually is, because a parsec
is
actually distance.
No one knows.
It's not time, it's distance.
Do
they give you, like, a certain amount of time to make...
I have no idea.
I don't know. I'm very curious about it because Han Solo is my favorite character in Star Wars. But I don't know about the casting yet. I really need to see these people in these characters.
Yeah, I gotta see stuff.
I do know that the guy playing Lando had dinner with Billy D. Williams.
So did the dude that is playing, I can't think of his name, is playing Han Solo. He met up with Harrison.
Really? See, now that is super cool. Yeah. Because you can get some insights to, he's got to come out and say, hello, what have we here?
The player of the galaxy. I did notice, watching, like, the cantina scene last night, I just, especially sitting at the table with Han, Chewie, Luke, and Obi-Wan, I love how Peter Mayhew looks in that mask. Especially in that lighting. His eyes look so cool on that mask.
Peter Mayhew is amazing as Chewbacca.
Yeah.
He puts so much character into that, and you watch his eyes.
His eyes are, like, incredible acting. Like, not all actors do that. Sometimes, like, their acting just isn't believable because their eyes just look dead.
Yeah.
But other actors...
Watch the movie Tombstone if you want to see the best acting eyes ever.
Which one does that?
All of them.
All of them? The whole cast?
The whole cast. It's in their eyes. Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Powers Booth.
One of my favorite
incredible
eye acting moments, we were just talking about Disturbia the other day with Shia LaBeouf.
Mm-hmm.
It's towards the end, I won't spoil the movie, but he has tape over his mouth, so he literally half his face is covered, and you can just see the emotion pouring out of his eyes.
I love to see good eye acting.
Yeah, and Peter Mayhew just does fantastic with it.
Even though Peter Mayhew, can't walk around real good these days because of his height and he's a little crippled up. You could tell when Peter Mayhew was in The Force Awakens in the Chewbacca mask and when it was the new guy.
Yeah, because like
because of the eyes.
The eyes, yeah. Like him sitting in the cockpit with Rey and turned to look at her, it is easily Peter Mayhew. And
totally.
He's got a full mask on, so that definitely gives him credit that you can tell when it's him or when it's a double.
Yes.
That's...
And the new guy playing Chewie in that is great.
No, he's great too. I don't have anything against him either, but
boy,
you can tell.
Sure see when it was Peter.
Mm-hmm. I did kind of like with Luke's immaturity. Is that the right word?
Pretty much.
Like he's a little hothead at the table.
He is.
Like
10,000, we gonna buy our own shit for that.
You don't have to listen to this.
Who's gonna fly it, kid? You bet I could. I'm not such a bad pilot myself.
He's such a whiny little Skywalker.
And Obi-Wan's just like, okay, calm down.
Jesus.
Calm down.
No, he's like, dude, I went through this already. I can't do this again. I can't do this.
Jesus, you're like your dad.
Why didn't I give Bale the boy? God damn it. Oh, sad. And then, funny enough, like, when they're walking back outside, and, like, Obi-Wan's like, you'll have to sell your speeder.
I'm never coming back to this planet.
And then he comes back to the planet to save the cocky pilot that
yes.
you dislike right now. You come back to save him.
But he didn't need the speeder anymore.
Nope.
They're just not in demand anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'd take it. I love the land speeder. I think it's cool.
Oh my gosh. And then, of course, one of the most debated conversations for Star Wars fans. Well, it's not that debated because most Star Wars fans say, fuck that, Han shot first.
I have a t-shirt.
Han shot first. I don't care what edit you are watching. It is so essential for his character that he shot first.
Yes, it is. Han shot first. He didn't shoot in self-defense. Greedo was too stupid to shoot first. Yeah. Because, Han's got his hand up on the wall, like, distracting him while he's unsnapping his holster.
And his legs all up on the table to block it. He has this completely planned out when he sits down.
Exactly. He does. And just, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Yes, I bet you have. Blam! And he's gone.
And there's like, what, 5 edits of that scene?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how many edits. The Blu-ray that I have is much better than the one version where his head, like, breaks weird.
Yeah.
Like, to dodge it or whatever.
Yeah.
The Blu-ray one I have is much better, but it's still... The Blu-ray edition that I watched last night made it look like they shot at the same time.
Yeah, and...
No, he shot first.
No, you need that for Han Solo's character. Not a self-defense shot. Not, Greedo got a shot off first, or with him, or whatever. Han just murdered him.
Mm-hmm.
You're threatening to take my ship. You're done.
Yeah.
Now that totally goes into the character of Han Solo, that by the time Jedi comes around, Return of the Jedi, where he's a little bit softer with Leia and stuff, that gives that character massive development.
Yeah.
The whole, I still believe Han shot first.
And you can't tell me that he's hanging out in this cantina where people go back to smoking their hookah after arms get chopped off and is like a squeaky clean guy. You can't, like, it doesn't make, it's just, you need to start here so that his character can progress to the end of Return of the Jedi.
Exactly. And then when he walks out, sorry for the mess, tosses some money to the bartender.
Yeah, and then once again, everybody goes back to their hookah.
And everybody goes back, and clean up, booth 14.
It's probably like after high school type job. Yeah, I work at the cantina. I clean up body parts. And when the stormtroopers are like searching Tatooine, like in Mos Eisley, then you know like they're knocking on the doors.
Yeah.
This one's locked. Keep going. Do you think that maybe someone's hiding behind the locked door? You were the worst search party ever.
Totally the worst.
Of course they'd lock the damn door.
I never really understood that, except for they're probably going, God, it's hot in this outfit.
This is so true. They are probably like roasting, just like...
Well, the actors had like a full bodysuit under the armor, so it's like wearing a wetsuit under it. It's had to be just miserable.
Hopefully the stormtroopers that was more of a set. Or do you think that was on location for that part of Tatooine? I think it was a set.
It probably was a set.
So they're probably a little bit better off than Anthony Daniels.
Yes.
And Kenny Baker. And then, so, we have, depending on what version you're watching, the next is going into the added scene of Han and Jabba in front of the Falcon.
Which we did not need.
No. Like you said the other day, it ruins the introduction to the Falcon.
Totally. Totally does.
It's not needed. Any version of it.
All the dialogue is totally repeating what Greedo just said.
Yeah.
You know, and then it shows Han caving on how much he owes him.
Yeah.
That part of the special edition weakens Han Solo between Greedo and him shooting, and that it weakens the character of Han Solo.
I noticed when I was watching it, it's edited really weird. If you watch Chewie in the back, Chewie jumps around really weird. It's like this scene was not supposed to be here. It was added in. Because at one point it looks like Chewie is at the entrance. Then all of a sudden, next shot, he's right behind Han. Another shot, it looks like he's by the entrance again. Then he's behind Han. And then he's walking up the ramp with Han. And then, like, the next time we see the Falcon, when Luke and Obi-Wan see it, Chewie is walking with them into the hangar.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It's edited really weird.
And, you know, George Lucas filmed that with a heavy-set
I remember that
Irishman
part. Yeah, I remember
in
that
a fur coat.
version. Yeah.
And, you know, because at the time he knew what he wanted Jabba to look like, but he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so he filmed that, and then afterwards said, "Oh, we don't need this."
Well,
you still don't need it.
No, you still don't need it, because my biggest thing is a character like Jabba, he's gonna send Greedo. He's not gonna leave to do it. He has all his minions to send. Why is he gonna go talk to the guy?
No.
He will send one of his dudes to go deal with it. That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Of like a mob boss. Like, that's kind of the point.
I think George Lucas wanted to put that scene in so he could have Boba Fett in there.
Oh my god, we were just talking about that the other day. Boba Fett's add-in in that scene is ridiculous.
I mean, he looks at the camera. Did you see me?
Did you see me? He should have waved and been like, "Hi guys, I'm right here. Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
How's it going?" Oh my, it's so bad.
I'm not that huge of a Boba Fett fan.
Neither am I.
I mean, I think he's okay, but it just...
It looks awkward
when you watch it.
It looks strange,
because he wasn't in the original when they filmed it.
No, he's like on a green screen that they added in, and he's like, "Hi guys, it's me, Boba Fett. Look right here. Look at me."
Boba Fett's not one of these guys that would be Jabba's thug. Jabba would hire him for a special job.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be just hanging around with Greedo and all the other guys.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
And it ruins the introduction of the Falcon.
That is the biggest problem, is because when they turn, like Luke and Obi-Wan turn and enter it, that should be the first time you see the ship.
Yep.
Like, even like for storyline wise, for just flow of the movie, because then it like kind of takes away them seeing it for the first time. It's like, oh, we just saw that. Didn't they just walk up that ramp of that ship?
Yeah.
It takes it away. And the poor Falcon being called a junk for all eternity.
What a piece of junk. She'll make 0.5 past light speed.
Everyone calls
She
that.
may not look like much, but she's got it where it counts, kid. Oh, God, don't get me started.
He will recite every single line from this movie.
Especially every Han Solo.
Every single Han Solo line. True story. I do, however, like when the stormtroopers come in and like they start like shooting, and Han just like immediately draws on them, and voila.
Oh, yeah.
Shebang, and then up the ramp you go. And
he just, his head kind of moved. What?
Yeah, exactly.
Blasters out.
I do like the addition of the Falcon taking off.
No, I do like that.
See, some of the additions are good. I like seeing it go
leave
the hangar.
Looks a little cartoony.
A little bit.
But the thing I always wondered is, how does the ship get out of this room?
Yeah, it doesn't have a roof.
You can't tell
Yeah, you
that
can't
it
tell.
doesn't have a roof.
Yeah.
You think on a planet with 2 suns, you'd see some light coming in up there.
This is true.
But I always wondered that, and back then we didn't even see that all these circular holes where the ships would land, and you see that in the special edition as you're coming up. You see all of these little places for the ships to land.
So some of the editions are okay, but just some of them are just unneeded.
Taking off, and you still see the stormtroopers down on the ground shooting at it.
Yeah.
And then Han closing the hatch. Chewie, get us out of here!
Yeah. And then you go into, you say those Han Solo lines, all the time. Watch your mouth, kid, or you'll find yourself floating home.
Yeah. Traveling through hyperspace ain't like Dustin Crops, boy.
Yes,
and then
all of
Luke
those.
should have said, Dustin Crops?
Yeah, I know.
You see what planet you
It's
are
a
on?
moisture farmer. What are you talking about?
We farm water.
What are you talking about? I looked for the damn dice. Where are the dice in the movie?
You didn't see them?
I didn't see them. I think I was looking at my computer screen making this outline or something because I knew that Chewie hits his head and you see him.
When Chewie gets on the Falcon and he steps into the cockpit, he takes his bandolier off.
See,
he goes to sit down, and as he moves forward to the seat, he hits his head on the dice.
See,
they go winga winga.
I've seen images, but I haven't actually sat down and seen it in the movie. So I'm watching. I was I don't see no goddamn dice.
Yeah, Chewie hits his head on him.
Stupid dice.
Which I never noticed until the dice showed up in The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi. And then we go to the Death Star in front of Alderaan. Do you want to pilot the Death Star?
How do you pilot the
Death Star? I just find
it
it's kind of weird. It's just
it goes to hyperspace.
It's weird when you think about it.
It seems like an awful big, awful weird shape to fly around in.
It's definitely odd. So this is the bit of the movie that I kind of mentioned earlier with books filling in things. Because when Leia comes out, Carrie's got an accent. Kind of, sort of. And in the book Bloodlines, I'm still reading through it, but they say she was making fun of Tarkin's accent to fill it in. When in reality, Carrie just slipped in and out of the accent.
Well, originally they wanted her to have an accent for it.
And she slips in and out.
She slips in and out,
Yeah. But that's another great, she, walks right up to the...
Governor Tarkin should have expected to see you holding Vader's leash.
Yeah, see? Oh, I love Leia. I love it so much.
And even her, when she finally gives up the location of the rebel base on Dantooine, that's another one of those good actors acting bad. If you watch her.
Oh, yeah, because...
She goes, Dantooine. They're on Dantooine.
Yeah, she knew exactly what she was doing. Just, something to attempt one last thing, because they were going to blow up Alderaan. It didn't matter where she gave.
That's the totally Genesis What's That?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Stop talking about Star Trek in my Star Wars podcast! I do really like, though, because she's super strong and everything, but then, when she backs up, into Vader's chest and kind of, jumps.
Yeah.
I do really like that part. Just very unfortunate, because I really like Bail Organa, and now he got blown to bits.
Blown to bits.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen any of the fan art of, after Alderaan's destroyed?
No.
It's sad.
I can imagine.
Sad. I've seen other fan art where, Bail and Breya are on Alderaan, and you can see the Death Star above the planet. It's sad.
Well, at least now that Rogue One's come out, we have an idea what that looks like.
Yeah.
Pretty horrible.
And we can yell at Bail, "Don't go home! Evacuate your planet! Don't go home!" So sad.
We did shout that when we watched Rogue
We did.
One.
And then Obi-Wan's great disturbance in the Force, feeling Alderaan go.
Grabbing his chest. And
Which is referenced, I feel so much throughout Star Wars. If you think that's the first time we see it. Yoda does it when Order 66 is happening in Revenge of the Sith, and then Leia does it when Han dies.
Yep.
They're all very similar.
Yes.
In feeling what just happened.
And it all goes back to Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness, yeah. It's all kind of surrounded by his performance there.
As he's training Luke to...
Yeah, Luke's practicing with the little thingy that's in Force Awakens.
The remote.
The remote. It's called a remote? Why don't I always think it's some complicated name. It's the remote.
Because he says, I could almost see the remote.
That's another
You're taking your first step into a larger world.
There's another really popular Star Wars line. Let the Wookiee win.
Let the Wookiee
when they're
win.
playing the hollow chess.
That's because Wookiees don't pull, or droids don't pull people's arms out of their sockets when they lose, which we would have seen if they'd have left it in The Force Awakens.
I know, there's a deleted
because
scene.
he
It's a
does
good one.
that.
Mm-hmm. I do like when Han is laughing at Luke as he like gets shot, like as he's practicing. It's so funny. And this poor guy, I swear, this poor character. He's talking about like hokey religions and all that.
Hokey
and, like,
religions and ancient weapons ain't no match for a good blaster at your side.
This guy should have just stayed clear of Luke and Leia because the Force becomes a very prominent thing in his life and death. So this poor guy should have just steered clear.
There's another great progression for Han Solo's character.
Yeah.
As, you know, you meet him as this, you know, hokey religions, ancient weapons,
Mm-hmm.
to the point in The Force Awakens where, yeah, I used to think it was mumbo jumbo too, but it's real.
Oh, that's
All
great.
of it.
Yeah, his conversation with Rey and Finn, that's great. Or, that's not how the Force works.
Oh, really? You're cold.
This really great character progression and everything.
Han Solo's my favorite.
Han Solo is awesome. How can you not like Han Solo?
Han Solo is great.
And you know what? Han Solo is less whiny than Luke. So even if Luke is the hero of all this, which he is, but he has some whiny Skywalker moments.
Totally.
Whiny Skywalker.
I mean, I always like Harrison Ford from American Graffiti.
Yeah.
Because he's got a small part in American Graffiti, but he's got a great interchange with John Milner as they're driving their cars down the street, and he's great in that movie. And then all of a sudden he's Han Solo.
Yeah.
Then he's Indiana Jones.
And all these other...
Then I skip to Air Force One.
That's good stuff.
Even Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games, he's really good in those.
What Lies Beneath?
What Lies Beneath? Oh my God, he's amazing in that.
And then we jump to Tarkin and like finding out like Dantooine isn't the location. She lied.
She lied to us.
He's so offended. Like, douchebag, you just blew up her planet. I'm so glad she lied to you. Like, he's so shocked that she lied.
Yeah.
This is so comical to me.
And his line before he blows it up, you prefer another target, a military target, then name the system. Don't grow tired of asking this, so to be for the last time. Where is the rebel base? He is another great part of this movie. I can't think of his name. What's his name?
Oh,
Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing. I was
Peter
like, what?
Cushing.
Tarkin? What?
Peter Cushing is another great part of this movie because he is from old horror movies. He always played like Van Helsing, and he was always hunting Dracula and stuff like that. And so I was familiar with him from that. And all of a sudden he's the governor of this movie, and he's bossing around Vader and stuff. And Peter Cushing's a great addition to this movie. Another actor that brings cred to this little independent film.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I have to give, especially if I have to give Carrie Fisher credit, because especially if you listen to her book where she talks about the whole filming experience, she was very new to acting.
Oh yeah.
She'd grown up in the world, clearly, but she's acting like against, like with Peter Cushing, when you have like that big of a name, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just completely handles herself, or against the big bad guy or anything like that.
No, she was great.
Yeah.
I actually think all the acting in this movie is really good. Because,
I don't have any problem with any of the acting.
You know, a lot of people say that Mark Hamill didn't do a good job. No, he did a great job of being a whiny little kid.
Yeah, that's, once again, the character progression. Because
Exactly.
he is not like that in Return of the Jedi.
No, and he's definitely not like that in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, Mark Hamill. He has whiny moments in Empire, but you can still, it's step-by-step progressions for every character.
Yes.
Each one of them.
Except Leia. Leia gets no progression. She's tough as nails.
Leia is pretty much the same.
All the way through. She really doesn't change that. She softens a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe that's her thing.
Maybe,
she softens a little bit.
Maybe that's it. Because, yeah.
What are you afraid of? My hands are dirty. My hands are dirty, too.
Oh, so romantic. Your first kiss was inside a space slug. Oh, and then, so we obviously come back to them arriving where Alderaan no longer is.
Yeah.
And another famous Star Wars line, that's no moon.
It's a space station.
Yeah.
I got a bad feeling about this.
I really like Alec Guinness's acting in that too, before they even, like, see the TIE fighter.
Yeah.
He, like, you can see him feeling what it is.
Yes.
It's just really good acting.
And then the minute the TIE fighter goes by, Han doesn't even think. He reaches up and grabs the trigger for the cannons that's right above the cockpit, and blam, blam, shoots at it. Mm-hmm. And then, they're not going to get me without a fight. Yeah. No, not a good idea.
Well, yeah, and then the Falcon gets pulled into the Death Star.
We're caught in a tractor beam. It's pulling us in. They're not going to get me without a fight.
Mm-hmm.
You can't win, but there are alternatives to fighting.
Mm-hmm. And then we kind of jump to Vader feeling Obi-Wan, like, immediately.
A presence I've not felt since...
Yeah, since something. A presence I have not felt since...
Yeah, that's good.
I like that they use the smuggling compartments.
Yes.
They should use the smuggling compartments in the next movie.
They should.
This is the freaking...
And they said several of the escape pods have been jettisoned. Well, we never saw them until the new movie.
Escape coffins. That's a very awkward escape pod. But, live your life. I do think it's funny, like, obviously you hear, like, the blasters go off when the stormtroopers go up.
Yes.
And they, like, steal their... I guess it's a good thing that they were similar sized. Do you know how long it would probably take to actually get into that costume?
A lot, yeah. And according to the movie, they didn't put on... They must have put the bodysuit on over their clothes. Because when they come out of the trash compactor...
They pull it out there in their clothes. Ooh,
they take off the armor.
Uncomfortable.
And all their clothes are underneath it.
That's true. That's very,
Except
very
for
true.
Han's holster. Han's super kick-ass holster that he has is not on. He's using the Stormtrooper belt, as is Luke.
Yeah.
They have the holster for the Stormtrooper blaster.
When I remember when I first saw this one, and, like, Obi-Wan is leaving to go shut the reactor off or whatever, I never thought he was coming back.
No, you get that feeling.
You get the feeling he's not coming back.
Your destiny lies along a different path than mine.
Yeah.
Remember, the Force will be with you.
And then it just, like, some of Han's other lines, like, where did you dig up this old fossil?
Yeah.
That whole bit, actually, because, like, when R2 realizes that Leia's there, like, Princess Leia, she's here. Princess? Like,
what are you talking about?
Harrison Ford's delivery is really funny. And, like, better her than me. Like, all of that stuff.
But they're going to kill her. Better her than me.
And I think one of my favorite lines in this entire movie, she's rich, is great.
Rich, powerful. Listen, if you were to rescue her, the reward would be... What? Well, more wealth than you can imagine. I don't know. I can imagine quite a bit. Yeah. You'll get it. I better. You will. And then Luke, coming up with the plan, grabbing the handcuffs and walking over to Chewie, and Chewie's like, "Get the fuck away from me!"
Why don't you do this?
Han, why don't you put him on? No worry, Chewie. I think I know what he's got in mind.
And when they're walking, like, in the Stormtrooper helmets again with Chewie and, like, the cuffs, it's, like, rumored it's a ad-lib from Mark Hamill, right? That he can't see anything out of the helmet?
Yeah, he says that.
But it's it's not like a Luke line. I heard it's, like, a Mark Hamill ad-lib.
It makes sense, because I have a Stormtrooper helmet, and I can't see any... I tried to ride my bicycle with it
That's why they can't shoot, because they can't see.
They can't see.
I think it's with all the helmets, because Adam Driver said he couldn't see shit out of his Kylo Ren helmet.
I know Dave Prowse had trouble in Empire.
Yeah.
During the fight in the carbon freezing chamber, because there's all the steam going off, and it kept fogging up the helmet, and he couldn't see anything.
Yeah. And then... probably my favorite Han moment is when they're in the detention center. We're all fine here. Thank you. How are you? Oh.
Just the look on his face when he does that. It's just like, I can't believe I just said that.
It's so funny, and the way he delivers it is perfect. And then, like, he shoots it, and boring conversation anyway.
Luke, we're gonna have company. But I do like when they come in, how they hand the rifle to Chewie.
I know. And
Look out, it's loose.
I know, it's so funny. It's loose. Oh, here you go. It's so funny. It was a good plan, and then their plan ended.
Yeah.
Which is actually, like, when I hadn't really paid attention, which is odd considering they go out through the trash compactor. But it would make sense for a detention center to have one exit.
Yes.
So that people don't run away. Like, where are you gonna go? It's a hallway. You have one way in, one way out.
Here it is, 2187. You go and get her. Hold him here. Which I was so disappointed in myself for not realizing that 2187 is 2187. FN 2187.
Yep. It's because it's like read differently.
It's read differently, and I didn't catch it. I mean, I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah.
When they come on the Death Star, Clarity 327, we are opening the magnetic field. When they get out of the trash compactor, here it is, 3263827. I know all these numbers. I'm just kind of stupid that way. But the 2187 I never got.
You didn't get until like the Easter eggs came out. And then you have Luke checking out his sister again.
Man, Gary looks pretty hot laying there on the bed. She got her hip all
you
up
like
and everything.
watch it again and you're like, stop checking your sister out.
And his head's all tilting like a puppy dog.
Stop checking your sister out. And as we say over and over again, all she needed was them to open the door.
Totally.
That's all she needed.
Because she pretty much takes over from there.
And this is some rescue.
When he came in here, didn't plan for getting out. He's the brains, sweetheart.
And then she just like grabs Luke's gun.
Yeah.
Someone has to save our skins.
We also get the classic line, "Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?"
No, which is so funny. Have you seen that, like, there are requirements to be a Sith level thing?
No.
It's like shows all of the bad guys in Star Wars, all of the good guys, and like you have to be shorter to be a good guy.
Really?
And like the in between is Hayden Christensen, because he goes back and forth. It's funny, so everyone's like, if you were this height requirement, then it's funny.
But yeah, blasting through the hole in the wall to jump down into the trash compactor.
The garbage chute flyboy.
Yeah. And then Chewie, get in there. I don't care what you smell.
Why do Han and Luke jump in head first?
I wouldn't.
My God.
You don't know where you're going.
They're like Lucas and Nathan. Like, why are they jumping in head first? I don't understand.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would have foot first in so you can at least cushion the fall with your legs.
Onto the metal pieces inside the trash compactor.
What an incredible smell you've discovered.
I know. It's so funny if you watch Chewbacca throughout the entire scene. He's like done. He's like, no, I want out. Let me out. Let me out.
Bang, bang, bang on the door.
It's like this big old Wookiee, and he's just like having none of it.
Oh,
he doesn't
the minute
care.
Dianoga pops his head up, he's definitely
let
done
me
with
out.
that.
And you're like supposed to be this big old badass Wookiee. That's so funny. And then like everyone talks about how Mark Hamill busted a blood vessel
in his eye.
Yeah. From going underwater.
Yeah.
Now, if you listen to Carrie's book, she said the next day after filming the trash compactor stuff, they filmed the throne room at the end. And if you look, like Mark Hamill had to smile a certain way to kind of hide where it had popped in his eye from going underwater.
I have heard that. But I do like when they're 3PO, shut down all the garbage mashers on the detention level. They start screaming for joy when they get shut down, and 3PO is all, oh no, kiss my metal body, I wasn't fast enough. I love that.
And I did notice it's, Princess Leia, she's been ordering around since the minute she met them, but like Han and Luke are like standing in the garbage chute like nothing, and she's like, don't just stand there.
Embrace it with something.
And then her poor little short legs, like I lose track of how many times Harrison picks her up and throws her on top of the pile.
Yeah.
Because she's so tiny.
Get up on top. I can't.
And then I saw on my blog site the other day, someone made a GIF, and it looks like Carrie says, oh shit. And then she smiles, and I saw it in the movie last night when I was watching it.
Did you?
I did. You can totally see where she's like, oh shit. Which is funny that it wasn't caught. And probably my favorite Leia line in New Hope is after they're out of the trash compactor. I don't know who you are, where you came from, but from now on, that part. Yeah. I love that part so much. And the look on Harrison's face is just like, what the fuck did I get myself into?
Yeah. And then the Dianoga screams, and Chewbacca's all, what are you afraid of? He's shaking his head, no.
You're supposed to be this big old Wookiee. Oh my gosh.
And then he turns around, shoots. And Leia's all, they'll hear. And then you get the classic line. Mm-hmm. Will someone get this walking carpet out of my way?
No reward is worth this. See, I told you, this guy should have just stayed away from these two people, I swear. His life got a lot more complicated. We go to, like, Han running down the hallway.
Yeah.
Do you know how many, it's probably younger generations that haven't seen the other ones that don't remember the version where it's not like a huge room of stormtroopers that he runs into?
He's chasing like 5 or 6 and they come to a dead end.
Yeah, and then it like turns around. Like so many people reference the Blu-ray special edition edit where it's like a room of stormtroopers.
Yeah, it's like a hangar full of troopers, which I do like that scene because it makes it a lot more of a threat.
I don't have a problem with that edit.
But I love that when he's running down the hall.
Yeah. The Luke and Leia like swinging across the thing, which they can do. They proved on Mythbusters.
Yes, they did.
They said that they could swing across that. Thanks to whoever did it and Sophia Bush.
Sophia Bush.
I can't remember who she was with.
I can't remember either, but I just remember Sophia Bush in there.
Yep, with her buns on and everything.
There's another example of the stormtroopers not being that bright. The door pops up a little bit. All they had to do is lay down and blow their ankles out from under them.
You say that all the time. Eventually they lay down, but literally all they had to do was stick their blaster underneath and like pop their ankles, and they would have been...
And I do like where he blasts the wall, and then she says, "Find the controls that extend the bridge."
You just blasted it. He's like, "Oh shit, this is a bad day."
And the echo that's in there and stuff, it's really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Leia, when he's getting the rope out of the belt, Leia takes the blaster and starts shooting the stormtroopers on the level up above. Yep. I do dig that.
Then we go to Vader and Obi-Wan's fight, which is so slow when you watch it now.
Well, it definitely is, but back in 77 when those lightsabers lit up and you saw the two fighting, it was pretty epic back then. Even
when I was like little, like the lightsaber fight didn't seem slow to me.
No.
Or anything. But then like prequels be coming out, and like Duel of Fates with Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul be coming out, and it makes that scene look so... Like, the choreography is just very slow.
Two old men beating a stick against each other.
Like, two old men beating their canes.
Well, and now that Rogue One's come out, you have to imagine that Darth Vader wasted all of his battery power in the hallway.
That's a big problem for people, because he's such a badass in that, and you have to... I read this really more logical explanation. He didn't have time between that to go back to Mustafar and soak in his Bacta tank.
That makes
to
sense.
Recharge.
Yeah.
That makes a little bit more sense. Still a good hallway scene, but kind of makes it questionable for that.
And if you compare it to the last time they fought
on
Mustafar.
Mustafar is especially, it's such a intense.
That is my third favorite lightsaber battle on Mustafar, because Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor are so good in that. And they're just so fast.
And then it's slow. That's almost the problem is if people watch them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I've heard people like, "Oh, this is gonna be good."
Yep. One of the podcasts I listened to, they were showing somebody who had never seen Star Wars.
Yeah.
And they had just seen Revenge of the Sith. And all of a sudden they're in Star Wars. And she leans over to him and says, "Oh, it's on now." And
that's why you have to watch it.
Not so much.
You have to watch it in order of release, I feel like. And it's so funny because, like, I feel like the stormtroopers are like, "Ooh, shiny lightsabers, let's abandon our post and go over here." Yeah. And they completely, leave it open.
I always wonder if Obi-Wan was doing a mind trick on him.
Maybe, because it's weird. They look over and they're like, "Oh, we'll go over here."
Yeah, they totally abandoned their post at the Falcon.
Straight shot for them to get to the Falcon.
Straight into the Falcon.
Yeah, I think he knew he wasn't going to come back.
He knew.
He knew way too much, especially like when he sees Luke. He's like, "All right, time to disappear, everyone. It's been cool. Thanks for joining me."
Yeah.
And then he up and disappears. And then I do like how Vader steps on it like, "Well, shit, did I get him? Where'd he go?"
Where did he go? Yeah. Because, Vader would have had no inkling of course, this is
apparently stuff he does.
That had to do with the prequels with, the Living Force and Qui-Gon, even though Qui-Gon didn't disappear. But you get that there's training to do, and so that you do disappear. So we do have him disappearing and Vader going like, WTF?
Yeah.
And then they run for the Falcon, and you get the first Force Ghost moment.
Yeah.
Run, Luke, run.
Yeah. He was just immediately back. That's why, it makes it so much more... He knew exactly what he was doing.
Hoping that old man got that tractor beam out of commission, so it's going to be a real short trip. Okay, hit it!
And
love that.
Luke is so sad that the dude he's known for 5 minutes is dead. fuck Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen. It's like he didn't give a shit. And, like, he's more upset that Obi-Wan just died. And the girl that just lost her entire fucking planet has to comfort him.
Yes.
That part bugs me.
And she
it's
thought
like,
she thought he needed a blanket.
Like her mommy?
Just like her mommy did.
That's totally what that part's supposed to be in Phantom Menace.
It is. That's when little Anakin says, warm me with your hotness.
Oh my god. So disturbing. So disturbing. We go to, like, them fighting off, like, the TIE fighters or whatever.
Yes.
And
the gun turrets on the Falcon.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
And
I wanted to sit in those chairs and turn those handles.
I think they're building one in Disneyland.
I wanted a video game of that where the whole chair moved the way that does. Mm-hmm. And they never used them again.
I know.
Until The Force Awakens.
Yeah, which is odd.
And even in The Force Awakens, they still had the 1977 graphics.
Yes, they did.
On the
they are very
screen.
consistent with the tech.
Yeah.
None of the tech changes, which makes sense.
No, it does.
But because you don't want to, like, update anything, it keeps all of the 77, like, tech things.
Yeah.
Which I think is a little bit more consistent. But yeah, they never used those again.
But one of the special editions took out a line that I loved.
Yeah.
When Luke gets his first TIE fighter shot, and he turns and looks at Han, and he goes, I got it. And Han says, great kid, don't get cocky. Mm-hmm. And one of the special editions took that out.
Yeah.
But I think they put it back
in.
They put it back in. It was in Blu-ray.
It's in the Blu-ray that I watched last night. It's back in. It's a good line. I don't know why they take it out.
No, I don't. George Lucas did weird stuff.
Weird stuff.
But, you know, the whole time Chewie's flying the Falcon and keeping everything going, and I love that battle. And then all day away.
Yeah.
Are you sure the homing beacon is secure aboard their ship? And I have heard that the homing beacon they put on the ship on the Death Star is how Han was able to find it.
What, do you just never find it? They never knew where it was?
They just never found it, I guess.
That's so messed up.
And it must have been hooked in so when the ship was on that the homing beacon started working, because they never found it when it was sitting on Jakku.
Well, let's hope that Ben Solo doesn't know about that.
Yeah, because you could track it.
I have to clarify because, you know, crazy old man, and then they named their kid after him. And then, you know, like, Han's cocky attitude. Sometimes I amaze even myself. That doesn't sound too hard.
Love Han Solo.
They let us go. I love Carrie and all of it so much. It's crazy to me that she was so young.
Yeah.
In that.
Yeah, they let us go. How else do you explain the ease of our escape? Easy? You call that easy?
They're tracking us. And then it, like, immediately goes into, like, Leia just, like, not wanting anything to do with Han because he's just, like, some cocky pilot, right? And your friend's a real mercenary.
Wonder if he cares about anything. Or anyone.
Yeah. I care. Luke, no, you don't care. Stop, you poor child. Stop hitting on your sister. And then it goes into Han fucking with Luke.
Big time.
Because he knows exactly what he's doing. And just to push Luke's buttons. Because he knows that he has a thing for Leia.
Do you think it's possible for a princess and a guy like me?
No. And then he smirks. It's so messed up because he's just fucking with him. Oh, it's so messed up.
Yeah, it's so good, though.
And then it goes to Yavin, which is like... They did good with Rogue One on matching the Yavin stuff because
it looks
everything
like
looks
the same
so
place.
Cohesive.
Even the poor guy that got in trouble and is up in the thing with the speedometer.
Do you think he, like, it's a cell phone or something he can, like, play Candy Crush on? Or
I don't think so.
He just has to sit up there with the little radar thing?
Yeah, it's like his name's Phil and he got in trouble. Phil, you gotta go back up in the tower.
Oh, that's really unfortunate. Maybe he was just really stupid and they had to give him some sort of job in the rebellion. Go up there, point at the sky. You're good.
Definitely.
Maybe that's what it is. And then when I was watching it, I couldn't help but think that, speaking of tech, R2 is literally just like a big ol' USB stick throughout this entire movie.
Pretty much.
It would have been better if they honestly should have just kept it on the thing that they had in Rogue One. Yeah. Not loaded it.
And they, like, plug in an extension cord into him when they are
it's
downloading
like a massive,
the data.
Yeah. It looks like a hose.
Yeah, it looks like a...
when they start going into, like, the Death Star plans and how they're forming the attack and everything, all of that stuff, it always bothers me that one guy says Leia's name wrong. And then, Princess Leia.
Well, in 77, there was a lot of Leia. It didn't go Leia until Empire.
But who else says Leia in the movie?
I don't know, but that's what
everyone pronounced it.
Leia, and then it became Leia, and
a lot of the other actors, like, just recently watching it, all the other actors say Leia.
Okay.
And he's, like, the only one that says Leia.
Maybe it's because some of them were British, and that's the accent.
Anyway, so in that room where they're, like, talking about the plans to destroy the Death Star... The briefing. It's so funny because someone pinpointed, they're like, that guy right there looks like Natalie Portman. That's the real Luke Skywalker. It's not Mark Hamill. It's this guy that looks like Natalie Portman. And he does look like Natalie Portman. They, like, accidentally mixed up the kids and, like...
That could be. That's why he's such a whiny turd.
Oh, no, but he's definitely Anakin's child.
Yeah, he definitely is.
And then I found it funny when, like, Han's leaving and he's got his reward. With all of this, like, tech and everything, like, we couldn't transfer credits digitally. We have to give them boxes.
Ammo cans full of money.
Like, boxes and boxes. And that was the same thing in Last Jedi for DJ.
Yeah.
His reward was boxes and what's in the boxes?
I mean,
what's in the box? Haha. Sorry. Okay.
It used to be Republic credits, but I don't know if they've just got dollar bills in there or...
I have no idea.
Gold or...
some sort of tokens. Like Chuck E. Cheese tokens?
Yeah, something.
Something, I don't know. It's just curious and curiouser. And then, like, immediately, like, Luke is, like, kind of whiny again at that point with Han leaving. But I get he doesn't want him to leave, right?
Yeah.
And Han's kind of being a dick. And Chewie immediately starts throwing the guilt at him.
Yeah.
Trying to he's like, immediately, it's like, Luke walks away and, like, Chewie's like, shit, man, I think we should stay. Immediately.
What are you looking at? I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
He does offer Luke the chance, come with us, you're pretty good in a fight.
Yeah.
We'll look around. Can't you see what they're up against?
Everybody compares that to Han asking Rey to join them.
Oh, yeah, it's... very true. Very true. Never thought about that till you just said it, but that's very true.
You know what's funny I did notice in this? I'm so glad that throughout the lengthiness of this, being held captured on the Death Star and everything, that Leia has a bunch of time to continue to reapply mass amount of lip gloss on her lips. Because in this movie, she has so much lip gloss on her face. Maybe it's because it's, like, HD now, and it's like, damn, her lips are sparkling. It's very, very sparkly.
Well, she got to Yavin, and they had the Rebellion makeup artist redo her.
Yeah. Somehow I don't think she'd give a shit about that.
No, I don't think so either.
Sometimes I don't. And it's like,
she had donuts on her head, so I guess she obviously didn't care.
Poor little space buns.
Space buns.
Space buns.
Cinnabuns.
Cinnabuns, yes. And then so it's just, like, all of the, like, the ship's prepping... and you get to see Biggs again, and everyone getting ready to
Which
do
they
the attack.
reinserted the scene of Biggs talking to Luke.
Did they take it out?
That's a special edition thing.
Oh,
that was not in the original. Biggs was in the final battle, but where Luke and Biggs run into each other and talk, and then Gold Leader, Red Leader, whichever one comes up to him.
Yeah.
There's a special cut right there. Somebody walks in front of him. Mm-hmm. That's because the Red Leader, I think it was Red Leader, he says to Luke,
yeah.
I fought with your father in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, something to that effect.
Something to that effect.
I have seen that deleted scene.
They had to have that guy walk in front to be able to bloop that out.
Yeah. Really? What was his name? Really? Huh?
What was his name? I don't even know.
Can you tell me about my dad, huh? Come back.
Tall guy, black armor, asthma.
Poor guy. Like, during the whole, like, attack on the Death Star and everything, I was funny because I don't think I've actually noticed it before. Like, when Obi-Wan starts talking, like, Luke taps his headset. Like, what am I hearing?
Yeah.
Like, is someone whispering in my ear? Like, am I going insane? Yeah. I hadn't noticed that before. But he, like, taps the side
I do enjoy that. And I do like the fact that their target is, you know, 2 meters wide.
Yeah.
And Luke starts talking about bullseyeing womp rats in his T-16 back home.
Yeah.
They're not much bigger than 2 meters.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people always said, why would the Empire build this huge thing and leave this giant flaw into it?
It's perfectly summed up.
And Rogue One totally explains it.
Yeah.
Retroactive continuity.
Yep.
But it was designed in there.
That was a big thing when they said they were making Rogue One. I needed to see some buns. I needed to see Princess Leia, and I wanted them to explain, like, it was done on purpose.
Yeah.
Why there's a hole, it was done on purpose, and it was.
And, you know, they say that the Death Star's defenses are designed around a large-scale assault, you know, huge capital ships coming in to attack it, not a one-man snub fighter.
Yeah.
And that is what wins the day.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, referencing back to the prequels, like, when Vader goes out in his ship, it's like Anakin would do that.
Yeah.
That's exactly. It just ties it in a little bit better, because there's no way Anakin's gonna stay inside the Death Star. He's gonna go get his ship, and he's gonna go fly out.
No, that's totally
And then, you know,
Anakin.
we also couldn't blow up Darth Vader, so
No,
he needed to be off.
We had
he
to
needed to
get
get him off the Death Star.
Get him off the Death Star so everybody else
I
could
did
get
like
those.
that Tarkin's, like, a little cocky, like, he's not
little?
gonna evacuate, you know?
Evacuate in a moment of triumph. I think you overestimate their chances.
See, the Empire was a little bit stronger than the wussy First Order.
Yeah.
Look around, even Hux is gone. Like, see, that type of thing, everyone was bailing.
Yeah. Although the smartest guy in the Death Star was the one that asked him, should I prepare your ship for evacuation?
He was a good worker. Too bad he's probably blowed up.
He's blowed up too, but...
Everybody blowed it up.
Analyze their attack, and there is a danger.
I could never be a pilot. Just watching the whole end of that movie, like, diving into the things on the Death Star and, like, the trench, there's no way I could be a pilot. I can't even do the video game.
I can do the video games, but if you put me in a real one, ain't no way.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's crazy to think it's honestly not that far off, because people in the military, they'd be whipping around those fighters like nothing. It's crazy.
Military fighter pilots do every one of those turns. All those turns were based on what real, like, pilots do. Yeah, it's...
Because
totally
wasn't a bunch of, like, wasn't that referenced a lot for this movie?
World
War II footage?
Yes.
For the space attacks and things like that?
It was like P-51 Mustangs and F-4 Corsairs and Japanese Zeros and German Messerschmitts and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then when we have, like, Luke using the Force and, like, turning off his computers. Yeah. Can you imagine the people on Yavin? They're like, this is our last dude. Like, what are you doing? Like, don't fuck this up. Turn your computer back on.
His computer's off. Luke, you switch off your talking computer. What's wrong? Nothing. I'm all right. It's highly sophisticated.
It's like...
Please use it.
This is the new guy. Who let him in? And then, like we had said earlier, Vader feeling him using the Force. So
the Force is strong with this one.
So if he can feel that, then he should have been able to feel Leia. Wedge makes it, and then Biggs dies, obviously. And I think it would have been, because like you said, they added in the Luke and Biggs scene.
Yes.
I think it would have been even better for, like, him to be on Tatooine with Luke.
Yeah.
Because then it's, like, really, like, Luke's friend just died.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like
that's
grief.
Why George Lucas put that scene back in there, is because
it meant more.
He wanted it to mean more when Biggs died.
Yeah. I don't know where it would have fit at the beginning of... That's the problem, too, is, like...
Yeah.
The stuff on Tatooine, I've seen those deleted scenes, and it wouldn't have really made it flow or anything. So it's good that they added in the one in the hangar.
Well, I mean, originally they shot Mark Hamill looking with his binoculars up into space, seeing the battle with the Tantive
with all his
IV.
friends. Yeah, like...
Yeah, so that was also taken out. But, yes, Wedge... one of the unsung heroes of the rebellion, who makes it through every one of the movies, the first 3, and I actually enjoy Wedge quite a bit. I think that's a cool character. I just wish he'd have come back for Force Awakens.
That would have been cool for him to be in Force Awakens or Last Jedi, somewhere.
That's the 2 characters that I wanted in Force Awakens was Wedge and Lando.
There is a meme going around for Lando. And he's like, this drawing, and he like wakes up from a coma, and he's like, oh, congratulations, Mr. Calrissian. You've just woken up from your coma. He's like, oh, really? I wonder how my friends Han, Luke, and Leia are doing. And the nurses are like, oh, should we tell him?
Oh, that's horrible.
Where'd he go? I did hear that Rian Johnson like thought about putting Lando in Last Jedi, and then they couldn't fit it in. Maybe the next one? I don't know. I don't know.
Lando was a great character.
He could have been at the damn slot machine.
Who else could have wore a cape the way he did? He was epic.
Oh, gosh. And then, jumping back to the Yavin attack. And all that, we keep jumping into other movies. But, probably your favorite part is when Han comes back?
Oh, by far.
And Vader's like, what?
What? You know,
the fuck?
I have you now. The ship blows up. What? Yahoo! And
because of Chewie.
And then you see the Falcon with the sun behind it coming in.
So good.
Which is what makes the Falcon a character. You know, seeing that ship. You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home. That's epic. I get chills when I hear that.
How many times do you think Chewbacca was like, hey, remember that one time when I made you go back to Yavin? Remember that one time when I guilted you into going back to Yavin?
Definitely. It was all because of Chewie that he went back.
Mm-hmm. And then when they land back down on Yavin, there's like so much speculation that when...
Yavin 4.
Yeah, I know.
The fourth moon of Yavin.
Yes,
so
I know it's a moon.
In case anybody wants to complain about that, it is the fourth moon of Yavin.
I do actually know that it's a moon. I do actually know, because ain't no one going on Yavin.
But they call it Yavin Base.
Yeah, so I'm just simplifying things, folks. But when they land back down, there's so much speculation that when Luke pops out of the X-Wing, he says Carrie and then hugs Leia.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey... It's not Carrie, but if, like, it kind of could go either way. And Mark Hamill debunked that, because he said they had to re-record all the audios in that hangar. So he's like, that wouldn't have slipped through.
I've heard that for years, though.
Yeah. If you listen to it, because the way he says, hey, it could be Carrie. The way he kind of says the word. And then everyone's all happy and giving hugs and everything. And it's happy, happy time.
I knew there was more to you than money.
And then, you know, the throne room, the end of the movie, which is your favorite. Is it your favorite piece of Star Wars music?
By far.
Yeah, throne room.
I mean, I love the Imperial March.
That's good.
But nothing pumps me up for a walk like the throne room music. I mean, when that music comes on, I want to start walking. And I want to stand there at the beginning of that throne room, walk down those stairs and down that aisle. And it just
I saw
pumps
this
me up
edit
to walk.
of that scene where someone took the music out and just added footsteps, and it made the scene so awkward.
I'll bet.
Just the silence of having to walk the whole way. But it's so much better with the music.
Oh, that music is so good. And then Luke walks out in his super pimpin' yellow leather jacket. And, I mean, I'm not a yellow person, but I just always loved that jacket.
It's good.
And Han got a new clean white shirt.
Yep. And Chewie doesn't get a medal.
Chewie doesn't get a medal.
Ah, poor Wookiee.
He did eventually.
Poor Wookiee.
On the MTV Music Awards, Carrie Fisher presented Chewbacca with a medal because many people
Because so many people were mad. That's funny.
You might as well give one to her too, also.
I know, right? But he's all like
Mark said.
Scrubbed up and beautiful. Mark Hamill did say that because he's saved more people. And then I feel like the end of that movie begins Luke's process of forever being a third wheel.
Pretty much.
Poor Luke. And then they gypped him. He don't get no Mara Jade. Thanks a lot, Disney.
Yeah.
Gosh. Poor guy.
He must have read some of those page turners where they say you're not supposed to be involved. Although George Lucas said Jedis can have sex, they just can't be attached to who they're having sex with.
Oh, okay.
That was actually a
George.
quote from George Lucas.
Oh my god, of course George Lucas would say that. Oh my god. Of course he did. Oh my god. There's like some sort of relationship, who the fuck knows if it's canon anymore, but between Obi-Wan and another Jedi girl that was in the Council or something. But I don't know if it was in, maybe it was in the Clone Wars animated TV series.
He did have a girlfriend, kind of, in that.
I think she dies saving Padme.
Really? Mm-hmm. I haven't seen all of the Clone Wars cartoons, but
I haven't either.
I do believe there is some sort of relationship with
Netflix
Obi-Wan.
got rid of it, but then it popped up on my Netflix page the other day.
Really?
So I think it's back. Might need to watch it.
Yeah, we need to watch it.
curious and curiouser. Is there anything else we need to say about A New Hope? Star Wars.
Man, I think we pretty much covered it all.
We pretty much did start to finish of the movie. Pretty much.
Han Solo rocks.
Princess Leia's a badass.
Luke's whiny. Chewie's scared of
I was
Dianogas.
just gonna say Chewbacca's scared of the garbage chute. Vader is floating off into space somewhere. Do you think he like called up a buddy like, hey, our space station blew up and this isn't gonna get me?
We saw the cartoon.
What cartoon?
When he calls the Emperor.
What cartoon is that? What is it?
Robot Chicken?
Robot Chicken that did the parody of him calling the Emperor and being like,
Emperor's sitting there in his office talking about, and then I threw the whole Senate at him.
Yes.
And it is such a well done cartoon. What the hell is an aluminum falcon?
That's a very funny cartoon. But he obviously made it because, he's in the next 2 movies. So
yes,
he survived.
And that was the one thing in 77 that was really cool, is that your ultimate bad guy lived.
Yeah.
And, you killed off Tarkin.
Tarkin was the one to remove for that.
Yeah, but Vader lived with the chance of coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And that opened it up for a sequel, but 77 we didn't know there was going to be a sequel.
Right, yeah.
It was except for the holiday special.
Because oh Lord, we're not doing that again. Because I guess would you consider Tarkin to be the main bad guy in this one, not Vader? And is Empire Vader's? And then the Emperor's is Return of the Jedi?
I think that's
those are
fair
the
to say.
3.
I mean, Vader's a badass, but he's more of a...
He works under Tarkin.
He works under Tarkin, and he's more of a thug.
Mm-hmm.
Which made me glad that they put Tarkin in Revenge of the Sith. You see him when they're on the Star Destroyer. There's an actor that's made up to look like a young Peter Cushing, and they're setting that up, and then
he's been with him a while.
Yes, yes, and so they've set up Tarkin, and then you have Tarkin in Rogue One, which I like, and a lot of people don't.
Everyone has questionable things about that.
I think it's very fitting, and I think they did a good job.
We'll rant about that when we do the Rogue One episode. So, this has been our New Hope episode. As I said at the beginning, thank you guys for saying you wanted to see more of this series. So, I guess we're just going to do order of release, is what most people suggested. So, the next time we have time to record, we'll be doing Empire, and so on and so forth. So, any closing thoughts about New Hope?
No, I
think we covered everything.
I think we got everything covered.
Alright. On that note, we will end this podcast.
May the Force be with you.
Thanks for listening, guys.